After a disappointing playoff run this year, in getting knocked out by the Denver Nuggets in the second round, what is the future for this LA Clippers team? For most of the season, they were considered favourites to win the championship, or a very close second to the Lakers, so where did it all go wrong? Starting with their first round matchup versus the Dallas Mavericks, they beat them fairly convincingly with a 4-2 victory and winning Game 5 by an insane 43 points. And Paul George so far was playing good, not far from his regular season numbers, and did have a tough matchup with him guarding Luka Doncic for most of the series, but Luka did still score 31 points per game over the series. Going into the semi-finals versus the Nuggets, Paul George played well, scoring 32 points and shooting 71% from free with 5 made threes in Game 1. Something that was interesting to me though, when I was checking the stats, was how the Clippers only had 3 offensive rebounds the entire game, which shows how much they respected the Nuggets' fast break, as they were more concerned with getting back on defense than getting the offensive rebounds. And on social media, I've noticed that Paul George is receiving most of the blame for this disappointing playoff run, but this should not be the case. In Game 2, Kawhi Leonard played dreadful and only had 13 points and shot 24% from the field. In Game 2, however, Paul George was actually the highest scorer on the Clippers with 22 points and didn't play bad by my judgment. For Game 3, Paul George was the highest scorer once again with an impressive 32 points, while Kawhi trailed behind with 23. And they won this game solely in the fourth quarter, as the 3 quarters prior all finished within 3 points of each team scoring. And Paul George played particularly well defensively, as well as offensively, guarding Jamal Murray for most of the game and holding him to 14 points on 5 of 17 shooting. But in the fourth quarter, the Nuggets only scored 19 points and had 5 turnovers as well. And like in many games before, Lou Will was crucial off the bench with 10 points, but more importantly, a plus-minus of positive 20. Game 4 was the most interesting game of the series for me, as it was very low scoring with the Clippers winning 96-85. The Clippers continued with their impressive defense and held the Nuggets to just 12 points in the fourth quarter. Paul George only scored 10 points and Kawhi was the one who stepped up with 30 points, 11 rebounds and 9 assists. And with them being 3-1 up, you would have thought they'd close out the series, but it seems they got too complacent. In Game 5, the Clippers led for most of the game, from the start up until 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And for this game, there's no one person I think you can really point a finger at and blame for the loss, as the whole team closed out poorly in the fourth quarter. And Game 6 was similar to Game 5 in the way that the Clippers led for the vast majority of the game, that being from 5 minutes into the first quarter all the way to 11 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And Jamal Murray had a great game with 21 points and shooting 9 from 13 from the field. And although Paul George had 33 points, he had an appalling plus-minus of negative 23. And watching the game back, it seemed to go south for the Clippers when Harrell was subbed out for Zubac, and the stats support this, with Zubac having the only positive plus-minus on the Clippers with plus 11 and Harrell having minus 19. And I do rate Harrell very highly as a player, but it seems that for guarding Jokic, Zubac is a much better fit. And Zubac has been great at rebounding this game, with 12 rebounds and 4 of them being offensive rebounds. And then that takes us to Game 7, where the Nuggets borderline swept the Clippers, winning by 15 and Jamal Murray exploding with 40 points and Jokic having an insane 22 rebounds. And after such a disappointing series loss where Kawhi was hoping to get his second ring in a row, I wouldn't be surprised if he wants out. That being said, I do believe this Clippers team could win a championship just as they are now. But their biggest challenge would be the Lakers, and that would have been such a good series to watch, the Lakers versus the Clippers in the West Conference Finals. But maybe we'll just have to wait till next season to see that.